Got it.
Okay, for folks watching this recording, welcome. Matt and I, and maybe some others, are going to walk through the remaining items leading up to the 1.5.0 release of CAPC. And with that, we can go ahead and get into it. So I will, maybe I should screen share. I'll screen share the milestone that just sort of goes through the historical list of stuff. Let's see here.
I'm racing to open my PR just in time to make it look like it was all ready.
Of course. Let's see if I can share. What did I end up sharing?
I think that was everything. I saw Teams.
Advanced sharing options. It doesn't seem to want to let me share. Okay, well, that's fine.
Do you have Teams full screen or maximized?
I don't.
Oh. Because when I do, then it doesn't let me share individual windows for some
Well, I'll just
reason.
move the relevant browser over here to the screen and disable notifications.
Oh, we're in Zoom. Sorry.
Yeah, we're in Zoom now.
Hard switcher. Zoom is actually cooler. Zoom lets
Cognitive
you
context switch.
Zoom lets you do option click on individual windows, and it'll just share those somehow.
So now you can see the 1.5 milestone.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. 2295.
Cool. So as we can see here, we have burned down a bunch of things in the last couple of months. Feeling great about this release. We've got, I went to click on the other thing. Just the remaining is to clarify release cadence and support policy. So one thing I wanted to bring up, and it's only you and I, so I'm not sure how much authority the two of us have without the rest of the community, but I am curious about our patch release policy as it relates to experimental stuff. Specifically, can we continue to roll out new AKS, Azure Managed Cluster features as part of weekly patch updates? So if it was part of the stable API, then I think we would definitely just defer to December and say bug fixes only. Maybe we can go look through our, because that affects, for me at least, I would love to get this in, but there's still some, I have some questions about webhooks, which this was meant to address, but I'm not actually sure that we need it because I did some other testing. So anyway, the reason this PR that I'm selecting was produced on Friday is a way of responding to certain things I was observing while testing this. There's also this PR that I think is probably at least a day away from being reviewable again. So that puts us up against the deadline. And then, as you can imagine, just a whole set of things that are going to be useful that I'm not convinced we want to wait another 2 months to give to the folks using Azure Managed Cluster.
Right.
Do we feel like our release doc addresses this in any way already, or do we?
Well, I just created the PR that documents it, and I don't say anything about that in particular. So, but we have time to update it. I mean, I think intellectually that is a justifiable thing. Like, this is not part of the stable API, therefore, as long as we don't break anything, you can arguably include that in patch releases, I would say.
Yeah, let me see if we have a history. If we have a demonstrated history of doing this, then I think.
Yeah, then I think
it's arguable that we're just documenting what we're already doing and making it more sort of purposeful.
Well, I mean,
so I'm going to go through some patch releases here.
That's not really a bug right there, right? The VNet managed. Or I mean, it is depending on how you look at it, but that right there is arguably an example of backporting a feature for AKS, right?
definitely a change, I would say. I mean, you could say it's a bug if you wanted to. It sounds like you're slightly familiar with this. If you were leaning into, let me find the relevant diff. If you were leaning into this aspect of it, then you could maybe argue that it's fixing a bug, because when this was originally implemented, we were just hard coding the. I mean, so maybe you could say this is a bug that relates to when custom VNet was implemented in AKS, because I think the story is that this Azure Managed Cluster was initially released without custom VNet support. Maybe AKS didn't even have custom VNet support then, I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
this was an appropriate thing to say, because managed in this sense means CapZ managed.
Right.
So if you look at the equivalent method in the non-AKS flow, you'll see logic that looked like what's below in green, because CapZ for self-managed clusters has long supported bring your own VNet, or we're going to create your VNet for you. So depending on how you want to look at it, this could be a bug, because at some point, bring your own VNet was implemented for AKS, but this was kept true. And so it was like half-baked, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But we did introduce a lot of additional, what we thought is good stuff in here that you could argue would not normally be part of a patch release.
Right.
Like the caching, and I don't think there's rate limiting that got punted out of this, but
it's not strictly speaking just a bug fix once you have the caching, I guess. Although maybe
that's right. I think that this is
it,
a more or less a data point in favor of like a demonstrated history of producing actually
right.
like additive changes and not just bug fixes. I think that these three are bug fixes. If you trust me, I'll just go down to 141. I want to see like a consistent pattern where we already are doing this, and then I think we should just put it into the release docs so that we feel totally good about not stressing.
Yeah.
Like I'm slightly stressed right now that we want to include as many features before 1.5 so that we can get those out to customers. But if in fact we're just commonly releasing these features week by week in patch updates, I'm only talking about Azure Managed Cluster here, then I think that there's no stress to hurry on any of these things.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Those all look like just bug fixes to me. 141.
Yep. Let's see. I think so. I mean, how did we classify this one up here? We classified this as a bug, but I think that was generous probably.
Yeah.
So 1.3.1.
Those are just
And
fixes,
I don't
I
know.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we don't. I think we have this is our rubber duck or whatever metaphor you want to use right here. Do we want to continue doing this? Because we don't have any community consensus in here.
Right.
Why don't we,
I mean,
I think that given the state of adoption with Azure Managed Cluster and given its experimental status, and given everything else that we understand about, like we can break this at any time, I think that is an exception to the normal patch release rule. And so I would propose that we include that in the document, and then let's spend some time reaching out to folks in the next 36 hours and seeing if anyone has some concerns about that.
okay.
The main concern I would have is the extent to which we can triage non-bug fixes in Azure Managed Cluster to the Azure Managed Cluster specific execution paths, so that we don't leak changes into the non-experimental API as part of cherry pick patches into the
Right. We can make that clear. There shouldn't be any
Yeah.
side effects, and ideally they shouldn't be cherry picked unless it's all confined to EXP.
Yeah, and I think that that's mostly not a problem, but I think we just want to be aware of that. If we get into the habit of freely cherry picking features back into patch releases for AKS, we need to make sure that we understand when we review those PRs that those Azure Managed Cluster AKS PRs are properly triaged. And if it's not possible to do that for any reason, then we need to make sure that we don't cherry pick those back.
Yeah. Do you want to look at the PR I have out there, and maybe we can identify what language to put in? I don't think it's free.
Okay, cool. Hopefully that conversation made sense for posterity. Okay, cool. So should I look at the
I added it to the existing doc. Arguably, we create a different one, but we already had a release doc, so I just stuck it at the top of our release doc.
I think this makes sense.
Indented everything a little bit. Are we doing patch releases every 2 weeks? Is that the plan, or is it every week?
So yeah, I'll just add, and we can do this in real time. So
yeah.
Let me see if I can come up with the doc, because that would be even better. See if somebody took a note of that agenda item. Okay. I think it was 2. Okay. Weekly Slack reminder would be more inclusive. Weekly regular releases over ad hoc releases.
Yeah, I was there actually.
So this is where do we actually? Well, it's not clearly stated in here, but we can at least provide a link. I'll link to the recording, I guess. Is there can I get like a link to the
Nobody pasted the link to the recording into the doc, so I don't know what it.
Will this produce a link at the
yeah, I think so.
Oh, I'll just say August 25th. August 25th. I don't want that. So I think what we want to do is like every week we will poll for.
Oh, okay. So basically, if people at our weekly meeting want a patch, we'll do one. Or if there's some probably security related thing, then we might do one out of band.
Yeah, so this is how I can best have a regular routine of cherry picking into the release branch.
Yeah.
With
we're always
community
ready to go.
support, we will look. What's the right way to do it? Will in effect have a weekly release cadence. I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. So it won't be strictly every week, but I think it'll be opportunistically every week, basically.
Okay.
So that's that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. And then the next section is where we might want to add something about the experimental API is exempt from this rule.
Yes.
Or actually, no, the next section is where we talk about the criteria.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe here, like, yeah. Let's add a discrete section. Or include
Yeah.
is an exception to the normal SEMBR. I will say will accelerate our effort. The defense. All right, so let's see. I will get Cecile involved for the record. How about Zane? No. Why isn't Zane showing up here? There he is.
There he is.
Mike has been someone.
I'll also call this out on Slack. Maybe that'll get more random
and
people to
John has
look at
been
it.
working on.
Oh yeah, no Junha.
Spells the name wrong backwards. Yeah, always fun, especially with a non-anglicized name like that. Okay, so I think this is really important to clarify, regardless of my own specific thoughts about this release cycle.
Yeah.
Because we've recently begun to reprioritize, I think, the graduation of Azure Managed Cluster in particular, and it will be really hard to sort of optimize that off ramp without this agreement, I think.
Yeah. You only get to show your work every 2 months is a little restrictive for something like that.
Yeah, and it's just everything becomes more dangerous. We're more likely to basically produce an experimental surface area that's undesirable. Whereas if we can get these little iterations going and feel confident that we can evaluate each change sort of discreetly with better signal, I think that we're more likely to produce a smooth off ramp.
I think it's totally justifiable given that all that is explicitly experimental.
Cool. All right. So that's the most important thing I wanted to talk about. Like just some re-hierarching. That's fine. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about. So where should this be? So I wanted to talk about how we can provide sort of documented guidance about non-feature or bug fix work. So like when we update Ginkgo to V2, or when we
Maintenance kind of stuff, or
scoop in a new Azure SDK for Go for hygienic reasons. Like sometimes we scoop those versions in for functional reasons because it's the only way to get access to an API. But if we're doing our jobs right, we're also doing a bunch of sort of code hygiene stuff kind of continuously to make sure the project is secure and up to date and all those kinds of things. I think that based on all the things that we're documenting here, especially the wherever it says I think there we go. Especially this part. This part becomes harder to do, practically speaking, if we don't organize our set of sort of code repository breaking changes to come at a particular time. So for example, when we do when we improve the way that we lint code, or when we improve the way that let's say we do like an improvement across all kinds of interface functions or whatever that touches the entire code base. When we do those kinds of changes, we sort of mark a frontier in terms of beyond which automated cherry picks become more likely to fail.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I feel like those changes should be bunched. Ideally, they should be bunched up like right before a release, like say the 2 weeks before a minor release.
So should we just try and say something like that, like as a guideline, if you know you have a PR that's going to have significant splash damage or whatever you call it, like those linter ones, we should aim to integrate that near the end of release cycle if possible. I mean,
I think the
strongest statement we can make.
Yeah, I think as reviewers, as like you and I and the reviewers of CapZ, we need to be keeping in mind all of the things that go into optimizing for maximum cherry pick or minimum cherry pick friction, so to speak.
Right.
So that has to do with like there might be times when we're like, okay, we want to actually merge these 3 PRs in this particular order because we know that they're going to be like 2 out of the 3 are going to be cherry picked into historical branches, and we just might have the context to anticipate that a particular commit in main landing order is going to produce a better cherry pick outcome. And so this is another example of that. So I think it's just probably worth, because I think it touches the release policy in the sense that like major code base touching changes will be subject to like additional scrutiny, so they may land at the end of the release. So for example, if I'm a contributor and I submit a linting PR, it would be nice to have just a couple lines of documentation here that says, just FYI, reviewers may wait until the end of the current release cycle to merge that PR.
Yeah, which we would go say that in the PR, and we would communicate why we were sitting on their PR. But it'd be good to have the same thing in our documentation here, so we can point to it and be like, this is why we're just trying to orchestrate this set of PRs so to cause us less pain in the future when we cherry pick things.
Yeah, because at the beginning, when we cut 1.5, then we're going to have a release branch, release-1.5, that matches main head, So that's the cleanest. Those cherry picks are going to be the easiest for that. Those first few days are going to be the easiest. So to the extent that we can combine that reality with all of the complicated stuff happens right before then, it's just sort of a big practical win. I mean, this is
Yep.
if you and others agree with me. This is what I've been
No,
thinking.
I agree. I mean, I totally, and I was worried about that, but arguably not enough before I had all those linter PRs, and then it was kind of a pain. It made it more difficult to cherry pick, and there wasn't any practical urgency on those, so we could have all taken a step back and been like, maybe sit on these for a few more weeks, so that so they just go into a major release or a minor release.
Well, for whatever reason, the linter PR was in my that work stream was in my mind. But that, to me, I think the thing that I've noticed in the last like 6 weeks during this release cycle is that we've had a lot of new folks land in the project, and those tend to be the sort of like, all right, get comfortable with the code base by doing these sort of like outstanding housekeeping items that for whatever reason we're just lazy and we put off forever. And so I feel like with the arrival of new folks in Cap Z, we've had more of those land in the last like month.
Yeah.
And I have observed a kind of like, ooh, Newman sort of thing when I'm trying to do cherry picks. I'm like, oh no, that I wish we could have waited a week to, sometimes it's as simple as maybe just evaluating. You don't have to wait till the end of the release cycle. You can just like, all right, actually, we got these 4 bug fix PRs outstanding. Let's just get those in first, and then maybe we can tolerate a little bit of stuff. Just so then, because sometimes these PRs, you just want, maybe you can just justify cherry picking the sort of hygiene PRs back into a release branch, like if it's not changing any functionality.
Yeah. I mean, we've had to do that, but that's
Yeah,
unfortunate because it's not strictly SIMVer compliant if you're not if you're getting something other than a bug fix. But sometimes you have to.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll try and collapse all that into a sentence or two about why we might orchestrate the merging of PRs in a different fashion or wait on one till near the end of a release cycle.
All right, so let me add, where would this go in the doc? I'll add a quick.
I think maybe right in a section after bug fixes and test improvements.
Okay, so maybe I could just add a.
This is where we're specifying the criteria for what we will and what won't cherry pick. So maybe that somewhere in here.
Minor.
I really should have done this last week so Cecile could have looked at it. So
It's all good. I've talked to Cecile about.
well, no, not that there's going to be any
This is the
disagreement.
bigger thing, which
I think we're in violent agreement on the specifics. Just then we could have had effectively enough of a consensus to
it's okay. It's okay.
do that.
I mean, but if folks want it, I think enough folks are. They would be here if they had strong feelings about the release.
Yeah, I think so.
I haven't gotten a sense that we're doing this wrong. Like I don't see people complaining about the release process. So Okay, that's a good enough summary of my thoughts.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Again, nobody's here, so I think that I'm just going to take that as generally there's no outstanding work that needs to be in 1.5.0. But I'm going to just quickly review this.
Yeah.
See if something is. Yeah, I think this is fine. I mean, this actually, if we want to do this, it would be good to do this now. I don't
But
know
the
if you saw
cubescape thing?
my
Oh no.
my annoying
Yeah, I did
remark.
see it. No, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to introduce it in all clusters and set some threshold because then it might tell us in the future if we actually regressed somehow that triggers a security scanner.
Yeah.
But I'm a little.
So we're
I'm
still kind of in an evaluation phase here.
well, I guess so. I mean, definitely when I first merged the PR, it was kind of an evaluation, like let's see what this does, and we set the threshold. And then for some reason, we were triggering the threshold a lot, even though nothing had changed that I could tell. And so we set it to just be informative, and that's where it's still at now. Um, so I mean,
Well, let's do this. I'll just this works. Let's just get this in now.
it's not really important either way, but
And then I'm going to file an issue.
it would be good if we could actually take it as something to follow up on, and
Yeah,
like
exactly. So I'm going to
see if we could really
say,
address any of these things.
I'm just going to, I don't care what this is called. Um, have we created a new milestone?
We haven't. I think that's part of the release
Next.
process. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, we really don't. I've never seen it fail, as in fail to download the image or start the job or any of that stuff. So I guess that's reassuring. So maybe that means it would be
Yeah,
safe to.
I think it's probably safe. I mean, I think
Yeah,
maybe we can just have a, if you want, I'm going to assign this to you because I love you.
sure. Thanks.
Uh, I think that we probably just want to set ourselves a sane set of criteria and then just
Yeah,
let the data tell the story. You know, like how long do these tests run? How often do they flake? You know, how much extra
I don't know how to do this.
overhead?
Hold on just a second. Hey, I'm at a conference. What's going on? Oh, outstanding. Okay, sorry. Right. All right, sorry.
All good. So yeah, that one will merge, which is appropriate. Anything else? We haven't really had this housekeeping PR discussion yet, so I wouldn't expect there would be stuff delayed right now.
I don't.
I forget why I tried to do this, but it didn't work, so I think I should just close this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It's just a breaking change. So we have to deal with the breakage. I'm not going to do that today. So I'm going to just close. Well, I'll leave it open in case someone. No, I don't need to leave it open. It's all documented. So we'll just run into that when we have a need to update, and then we'll have to do that work. Okay, cool. I think there's a bunch of stuff here that we can just pick up. I think if there was significant feature work that couldn't wait until November, then we would have known about it by this point. So
yeah, I would hope so.
So I'll watch for notifications on this PR, and we can do that in tandem. I'll review it, and otherwise,
we should be ready to go.
Yeah, I'll do an RFC in Slack to encourage folks to speak up about the merging functional changes to the patch release branches for experimental stuff, to see if anyone, to try to just get some feedback there.
Okay. Yeah. Then you have a time you want to do it tomorrow, or just?
Do we want to? I don't know. Do we have a pattern? Like maybe this should be in the document. Do we release on the milestone day?
I think that's the goal. We didn't
Okay, cool.
get specific in the document, but we might as well try to.
Then let's assume that this merges we can merge this like tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Maybe let folks wake up and add some comments if they want. And then, I mean, maybe one thing, we should have done this earlier. Let me look at tests. Let's see if tests are telling us something about the health of Maine.
Part of the release process, we just,
but it's been a long weekend, so there's some amount of data that I haven't reviewed. Okay, so I mean, I guess we can go through, just look at the main tests. That's more or less holding steady.
Whoa.
This looks like something needs to be cleaned up.
Oh. What?
Let's see, 9.1. Wonder what.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Happening here.
Invalid provider metadata for the, ooh, what?
Is that
the metadata file changed for the tests, or?
So I know that I had a PR that merged recently, right? But it was a slightly, I thought it was a different. Let's check that out.
It was just for the tests metadata. Maybe that's what it's complaining about. Where is it?
Here it is. So it is September 1st.
Oh. Major minor 0.5. Oh, it's asking for 0.53, and we don't have an entry. That.
Why does it fail here?
Failed to parse YAML. What?
Awesome.
That's gotta be. That's messed
Did
up.
this upgrade test run on this PR? Negative.
I'm guessing not.
So I'm a little confused why the CAPI, I mean, I was hoping by making that change, I did that a while ago, but the point was to make it just simpler to understand because it was so confusing.
Right.
But clearly
Provider metadata 053.
This is
that's
for
current.
Cap Z, so clearly this did not work for that.
I was expecting to
In
get V1
which
alpha 4 back. Huh. I didn't realize.
The thing is, I also thought that
Weird.
this contract, sorry, that this file right here, so this maps to this file, was only referenced here. So if I go, let's see, encode, like I'm surprised that another test is even using that file for input.
Yeah.
Because this is the 053 is that 053 complaining about 053?
That's what it was asking for, yeah.
Yeah, that's weird because that should be pointing to this. But maybe there's something about the upgrade. Yeah, I'm confused. Maybe okay, maybe during the upgrade test
it's using the vnext
it uses
context,
the vnext, and then it needs to have the old versions in there. So why don't we just see if I will submit a, maybe because I do like, I feel like this is slightly more semantic, and I definitely like the
it's a,
explanation here.
yeah, exactly. It's a shame to get rid of the.
So maybe
docs.
what I'll do is I'll submit a PR with basically no changes. I'll change a comment or something and confirm the upgrade test fails. And then I'll simply restore the, I don't know how much.
At least
Do
the
we test back to
0.5 section. I don't know if we care about the other ones or not in practice.
Yeah, why?
But I'm guessing
I think
where
that's right. I think that's right. I'll just test. Basically, we need the set that's defined in the infrastructure provider. Is it currently just, there's currently just 2, 0.5 and 1. Yeah, okay. So maybe I'll just restore 0.5, which is what we use as input for the upgrade test. And assuming the upgrade test fails repeatedly on the first PR, I submit with like no changes.
Right.
And then assuming that when I put 1.0.5 in, it passes, then we'll just move that into main. And if we can't figure it out, then we'll just revert it, because it seems pretty clear that that PR.
Yeah, it seems like it. But yeah, if we don't have to revert the whole thing, that might be better.
And why, I don't know if we have to do this on a recorded Zoom meeting, but why didn't that test run? I feel like,
is that part of the
pull up
regular
test
PR
infra.
test? I don't actually know. Or do we have to run a specific?
Well, I didn't finish my thought there, but what I want to see is, come on. So this is called dash API version dash upgrade dash main. Okay, cool. So I want to know why that didn't run. Okay, so run if changed. We don't have any run if changed here. So maybe we can, what kind of patterns do we have here?
Oh.
Holy crap. I don't want to parse that one in my brain. Let's just, why don't we just, so what changes were in this? Got that and that.
Test E2E data config.
How long are these tests? So So that was a 23-minute failure. How long are the successes? Okay, 47 minutes. And what is it? How much infrastructure is it building? Looks like just one cluster. I think at the very least we need to do this. So maybe we can just ship this because we just literally know that that can break it.
Oh, as the regex, as the file to watch?
Yeah, let's see
Yeah.
here. So see if I can do some adaptation here. Where's the other file located? Test E2E data. Okay. So that's an or.
Yeah.
Do I want to maybe, can I put a,
Why don't we have a parentheses around it though? Because that's a capturing.
we don't need the parentheses, do we?
No, I don't think so, unless we're doing, no, we don't. I'm not sure why the parens are there.
So let's see, we can do.
Do we need to escape the slashes this way? I don't know.
I think you do.
Do we? Okay.
So now we could maybe do some ors, like or and strictly speaking, we should probably put a $sign there. Okay. Should I just use a browser regex checker? Siri suggests this one. All right, so there's my regex check. No match.
Because beginning of string matches test.
Oh, I didn't close the parens, right?
Oh. It's still considering it a capturing group, according to the thing on the right.
Oh, I gotta escape that. I think that.
Well, that's also true. SIG matches the characters. Azure dev matches the characters. Blah blah matches the character. YAML matches the character. How can we?
Oh, I don't have another slash here.
Two sets of parentheses.
Yeah, let's.
What about if we get rid of that middle pair of parentheses and replace it with the vertical bar? Because I don't see.
Wait
the
a minute,
or.
we don't have. Where did our or go?
I don't know. Maybe that's the whole problem.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. So let's. So that matches that. Which one is? Sorry. We matched Azure dev.yaml. So now let's see if we can match this. Okay, cool. Well, we can at least ship this because we just got burned
Yeah,
by
that
not
was
running it.
that was unfortunate.
And actually, do the two of us, can we merge a PR to test infra? Do we
Yeah,
have power?
yeah,
Okay, I'll
I think we
submit this and
should.
then you merge it if you approve, and then we can actually use this when I submit my fix and verify that the job runs automatically.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool.
All right,
Clear as mud. I will paste the link to the recording when it's finishes.
clearer. All right, cool. I'll get some lunch and then I'll work on the docs PR. Hopefully it's not much left.
Sounds good.
Talk to you soon.
See you online.